Stop. Before you take your next sip of that drink in your hand, pause for just a moment. Notice your mouth right now. If you've had something sweet today, your brain is already anticipating the next hit. That subtle pull, that tiny craving, that's not about willpower. That's glucose signaling. And if you're over 60, that one healthy drink you trust every morning could be quietly destabilizing your blood sugar within minutes. This is not about soda. It's about something far more surprising, something sitting in your refrigerator right now, something you were taught was essential for health. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you changes everything you thought you knew about staying healthy after 60. I'm Dr. Megan Foster. I've spent 24 years in surgical practice, and I can't tell you how many patients have told me proudly, I don't drink soda, I just have orange juice. Here's the contradiction nobody explains. The drink most seniors believe is heart healthy is often the one driving their glucose spikes. The issue isn't fruit. The issue is liquid sugar delivery, and almost no one explains the difference properly. Think back 20 years. You could drink a glass of juice with breakfast and feel fine. Now, you may notice mid-morning fatigue, a slight brain fog, hunger again 2 hours later, that subtle shakiness before lunch. Nothing dramatic. Just aging, right? Maybe not. That sluggish mid-morning crash, that creeping hemoglobin A1C, that isn't simply age, it's often glucose volatility. And volatility is something you can reduce, but only once you understand what's causing it. Imagine your bloodstream like a calm river. Whole fruit enters like a slow melting ice cube, steady release. Juice? It's like dumping sugar directly into the water. When fruit is juiced, the fiber, the structural matrix is removed. Fiber is the braking system. Without it, sugar moves fast, very fast. Your pancreas reacts aggressively. Insulin surges, then the crash comes. That spike and drop cycle, repeated daily, stresses your metabolic system, especially after 60 when insulin sensitivity naturally declines. This isn't about calories, it's about speed. Large studies from the Harvard School of Public Health followed over 180,000 participants for decades. The finding? Higher intake of whole fruit was associated with lower risk of type 2 diabetes, but fruit juice intake was associated with a significantly higher risk. Same fruit origin, completely different outcome. The difference was fiber and absorption speed. That's not opinion. That's data collected over years. In a moment, I'm going to walk you through the most common healthy drinks that spike blood sugar, why seniors are uniquely vulnerable, and the number one swap that stabilizes energy within weeks. The final one is the most powerful and the simplest. Stay with me. Before we go deeper, I'm curious. Did you grow up believing orange juice was essential for health? Because many of us were taught this, and it wasn't malicious. It was incomplete information. And that incomplete information is still affecting your blood sugar today. Let me start with smoothies. The misconception is it's blended, so the fiber is still there. Yes, but blending pulverizes structure and dramatically speeds absorption. And most smoothies contain 3 to 4 servings of fruit consumed in under 5 minutes. That's a glucose load your system wasn't designed to process quickly, even when natural. Several studies show blended fruit produces a higher and faster glucose spike compared to intact whole fruit. Practical tip, if you drink smoothies, cut fruit volume in half and add protein or fats to slow absorption. The mistake? Fruit-only smoothies first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. And it gets more intense from here. Now, 100% fruit juice. The misconception is it's natural sugar, so it's safe. Biologically, your bloodstream doesn't label sugar as natural. Without fiber, juice hits fast. One glass of orange juice can contain the sugar of 3 to 4 oranges consumed in under a minute. Whole oranges, you'd stop at 1. Juice bypasses chewing and structural breakdown, accelerating glucose entry. Replacing one daily serving of juice with whole fruit was associated with a measurable reduction in diabetes risk in long-term studies. Practical tip, if you love juice, reduce portion size to 4 ounces and pair it with a high-fiber meal. The mistake? Drinking juice alone. Now we move into the heavy hitter. This is where things accelerate metabolically because this drink doesn't even pretend to be fruit. Sweetened health drinks, vitamin waters, sports drinks, sweet teas, marketed for hydration, marketed for energy. But metabolically, liquid sugar with branding, rapid spike, sharp insulin release, energy crash. Repeated daily, this pattern contributes to insulin resistance, especially in older adults with declining muscle glucose uptake. This is where hemoglobin A1C quietly creeps upward year after year. When patients remove daily liquid sugar, they often report within 10 to 14 days steadier morning energy, less urgent hunger, fewer afternoon crashes. That calm, stable feeling, that's reduced glucose volatility. Now, I'm not saying fruit is dangerous, fruit is protective. Whole fruit. And I'm not saying you must eliminate everything tomorrow. Start gradually, swap one daily sweetened drink for water or sparkling water with citrus. Small changes are sustainable changes. Here's the truth most people miss. The villain isn't fruit, it's liquid sugar speed. When you remove fiber, you remove protection. Seniors don't fail because they lack discipline. They fail because they were told juice equals health. It doesn't in liquid form. Water hydrates without metabolic stress. Whole fruit nourishes without volatility. That combination protects independence. For the next 30 days, no daily juice, no sweetened beverages. Eat fruit whole. Drink water as your baseline. And notice morning energy, midday hunger, mental clarity. Track it. Let your body prove the difference. You are not fragile. You are not declining. Your metabolism is responsive even now. Stability is possible at 60, 70, 80, and beyond, but it starts with understanding how your body actually works. Now, let me go deeper into why this matters specifically after 60. Your body's ability to handle sugar changes as you age. It's not just about willpower or discipline, it's about biology. After 60, several things happen simultaneously. Your muscle mass naturally decreases. Muscle is where most glucose gets stored after a meal. Less muscle means less storage space. Your cells become less responsive to insulin. This is called insulin resistance, and it happens gradually over decades. Your pancreas, the organ that makes insulin, becomes less efficient. It still works, but the response is slower and less precise. When you were younger, your body could handle a glucose spike. The system was robust. Now, that same spike creates more stress. The insulin response is delayed. The glucose stays elevated longer. And this prolonged elevation, even if it eventually comes down, causes damage over time. It affects your blood vessels. It affects your nerves. It affects your kidneys and your eyes. This is why blood sugar management after 60 isn't just about avoiding diabetes. It's about protecting every organ system in your body. Let me give you a concrete example. A 65-year-old woman drinks a 12-ounce glass of orange juice at breakfast. Within 15 minutes, her blood glucose rises from 95 to 160. That's a 65-point spike. Her pancreas releases insulin, but the response is sluggish. By the time insulin kicks in fully, it's been 45 minutes. The glucose starts to drop, but now there's too much insulin in the system. By 90 minutes post-breakfast, her glucose has dropped to 75. She feels shaky, hungry, irritable. She reaches for a snack. The cycle repeats. This is glucose volatility, and it's exhausting for the body. Contrast that with eating a whole orange. The fiber in the orange slows digestion. Glucose rises from 95 to 115 over 30 minutes. A 20-point rise, not 65. The insulin response is gentle and appropriate. No overshoot, no crash. By 90 minutes, glucose is back to baseline. She feels steady. No cravings, no energy dip. That's metabolic stability. And that stability matters more as you age than it did when you were 30. Here's what most people don't realize. You can have normal fasting glucose and still have dangerous glucose spikes after meals. Your doctor checks fasting glucose at your annual physical. Let's say it's 95. Normal. But nobody checks what happens after you eat. You could be spiking to 180, 200 after meals and never know it. Those post meal spikes are where the damage occurs. They're called postprandial spikes, and they're a better predictor of cardiovascular risk than fasting glucose in many studies. This is why removing liquid sugar is so powerful. You're not just lowering average glucose, you're eliminating the spikes. You're reducing volatility. And reduced volatility means less stress on every system, better energy, better mood, better sleep, clearer thinking. These aren't vague benefits. Patients report them consistently within 2 to 3 weeks. Let me address a common question. What about diet drinks? What about artificially sweetened beverages? Here's the nuance. Diet drinks don't spike glucose. That's true, but they may affect insulin sensitivity over time. Some research suggests artificial sweeteners can alter gut bacteria and affect how your body responds to sugar. The data is still emerging, but the pattern is concerning. More importantly, diet drinks maintain your taste preference for sweetness. They keep your brain wired for sweet, and that makes it harder to break the cycle. The goal isn't to replace sugar with fake sugar. The goal is to retrain your palate. When you stop drinking sweetened beverages, something remarkable happens. Within 3 to 4 weeks, your taste buds adapt. Foods that tasted bland start tasting flavorful. An apple tastes incredibly sweet. Sparkling water with lemon becomes satisfying. This adaptation is real and it's powerful, but you have to give your system time to reset. Now let's talk about coffee and tea. Black coffee and unsweetened tea do not spike blood sugar. In fact, coffee has been associated with lower diabetes risk in large studies. The issue isn't the coffee, it's what you add to it. A tablespoon of sugar, flavored syrups, sweetened creamers, these turn a zero-calorie beverage into a glucose bomb. If you drink coffee or tea, keep it simple. Black or with a splash of milk or cream. No sugar, no syrups. If you need sweetness, try a tiny amount of stevia but use it sparingly. The goal is to reduce sweetness overall, not just replace the source. What about alcohol? This is complex. Alcohol affects glucose in multiple ways. Initially, it can cause glucose to drop because it interferes with the liver's ability to release stored glucose. This is why drinking on an empty stomach can make you feel shaky or dizzy. But many alcoholic drinks also contain sugar. Beer, sweet wines, cocktails with mixers, these can spike glucose significantly. And alcohol impairs judgment, making you more likely to overeat or make poor food choices. If you drink alcohol, do it with food, keep portions moderate, and choose dry wines or spirits without sugary mixers. Let me talk about meal timing and how it relates to beverages. Many seniors skip breakfast, have coffee, then drink juice mid-morning. This is problematic. When you wake up, your body has been fasting overnight. Your liver has been releasing small amounts of glucose to keep your brain functioning. If you drink juice on an empty stomach, the glucose spike is massive. There's no food to slow absorption, no protein, no fat, no fiber. It's pure sugar entering your bloodstream at maximum speed. This is why the first thing you consume in the morning matters so much. If you want steady energy all day, start with protein and fat. Eggs, nuts, cheese, avocado. Then, if you want fruit, eat it whole with that meal. The protein and fat will slow absorption and prevent the spike. Hydration is critical, especially for seniors. As you age, your sense of thirst diminishes. You may not feel thirsty even when you're dehydrated. And dehydration worsens glucose control. When you're dehydrated, your blood becomes more concentrated. Glucose levels appear higher. Your kidneys are less efficient at filtering. You feel fatigued, which makes you less active, which worsens insulin sensitivity. It's a cascade. The simple solution? Drink water consistently throughout the day. not all at once. Small amounts frequently. Keep a water bottle visible. Take a sip every time you walk past it. This is more effective than trying to drink 8 glasses by bedtime. Let me address a concern some patients raise. They say, but I need the vitamins and juice. I need vitamin C. Here's the reality. You can get far more vitamins from whole fruit than from juice, with none of the downsides. One orange gives you more than 100% of your daily vitamin C, plus fiber, plus phytonutrients that are lost in juicing. And vitamin C isn't fragile. It's in vegetables too. Bell peppers, broccoli, strawberries, kiwi. You don't need juice to meet your needs. The juice industry has done an incredible job convincing us that juice equals health. It doesn't. It's a processed product that removes the beneficial components and concentrates the sugar. What about vegetable juice? This is better than fruit juice, but it's still not ideal. Vegetable juice typically has less sugar, which is good, but it's also concentrated sodium. 1 cup of tomato juice can have 600 milligrams of sodium. That's a third of your daily limit. And you're still removing fiber. The better choice? Eat vegetables whole. Roast them, steam them, eat them raw. You get fiber, vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients, all without the sodium load. Now, let me give you a framework for thinking about beverages after 60. There are 3 categories. Category 1, ideal beverages. These hydrate without affecting blood sugar or adding empty calories. Water, sparkling water, black coffee, sweetened tea, herbal tea. These should make up 90% of what you drink. Category 2, occasional beverages. These can fit into a healthy diet in small amounts. A small glass of milk, unsweetened almond or oat milk, a 4-ounce glass of wine, a cup of bone broth. These have nutrients but also calories or minor glucose effects. Use them intentionally, not habitually. Category 3, avoid consistently. Fruit juice, sweetened beverages, energy drinks, sports drinks, sweet tea, soda, diet soda. These either spike glucose, contain artificial ingredients, or maintain your preference for sweetness. There's no benefit that outweighs the cost. Let me walk you through a practical day. You wake up. First thing, drink 8 ounces of water. Your body has been fasting for 8 to 10 hours. Rehydrate first. Then breakfast. Eggs, vegetables, maybe some berries on the side. Coffee, black or with a splash of cream. No juice. Mid-morning, if you're thirsty, water or herbal tea. If you're hungry, a handful of nuts. Lunch, protein, vegetables, healthy fats, water with lemon. Afternoon, sparkling water or green tea. Dinner, similar to lunch, balanced and whole foods. Evening, herbal tea if you like. This is a template. Simple, sustainable, effective. What happens when you follow this for 30 days? Patients report several consistent changes. First, energy becomes more stable. No mid-morning crash, no afternoon slump. You feel steady from morning to evening. Second, hunger becomes more predictable. You're not fighting cravings every 2 hours. You eat meals, you feel satisfied, you move on. Third, mental clarity improves. That brain fog lifts. You think more clearly, remember things better, feel more present. Fourth, sleep often improves. Blood sugar stability affects sleep quality. When glucose is stable, you sleep deeper. Fifth, many patients lose a few pounds without trying. Not because they're restricting calories, but because they're not consuming liquid sugar multiple times a day. These changes aren't dramatic or sudden. They're gradual and sustainable, and that's exactly why they work long term. You're not forcing your body to adapt to something extreme. You're allowing it to return to a more natural state. You're removing the stressor, the liquid sugar, and letting your system recalibrate. Now, let me explain something crucial about how your liver processes liquid sugar differently than whole food. Your liver is the metabolic control center. When you eat a whole apple, the sugar travels through your digestive system slowly. Your liver processes small amounts at a time, converting what's needed to energy and storing the rest as glycogen for later use. This is normal, healthy function. But when you drink apple juice, your liver gets hit with a flood of sugar all at once. It can't process it fast enough. So, what does it do? It converts the excess sugar to fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. This fat doesn't just disappear, it accumulates in your liver cells, contributing to fatty liver disease, which affects nearly 25% of adults over 60. Fatty liver isn't just a liver problem. It's a whole body metabolic problem that increases inflammation, worsens insulin resistance, and raises cardiovascular risk. This is critical to understand because many seniors have fatty liver and don't know it. It doesn't cause symptoms until it's advanced. Your doctor may not test for it routinely, but if you've been drinking juice or sweetened beverages daily for years, there's a significant chance your liver has accumulated fat. The good news? Your liver is remarkably resilient. When you stop the liquid sugar intake, your liver can actually reverse fatty infiltration over time. Studies show that within 8 to 12 weeks of dietary changes, liver fat can decrease significantly. This isn't just about feeling better. This is about measurably improving organ function. Let's talk about something else that rarely gets discussed: the impact of liquid sugar on your brain. Your brain uses about 20% of your body's glucose, even though it's only 2% of your body weight. It's energy hungry. But here's the thing: your brain functions best with steady glucose, not spikes. When glucose spikes rapidly from juice or sweetened drinks, your brain gets a temporary surge of fuel. You might feel alert for 20 to 30 minutes. But then insulin drives that glucose down fast, sometimes overshooting into mild low blood sugar. When this happens, your brain perceives an energy crisis. It triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to raise glucose back up. This stress response affects your mood, your focus, your memory. It can make you feel anxious, irritable, foggy. Over time, repeated glucose spikes and crashes can actually affect brain structure. Research shows that chronic high blood sugar is associated with shrinkage of the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning. This is one reason why people with poorly controlled diabetes have higher rates of cognitive decline and dementia. But it's not just diagnosed diabetics. Even people with prediabetes or consistent glucose volatility show these changes. The encouraging part? When you stabilize glucose, you protect your brain. Studies on cognitive function show that better glucose control is associated with better memory, faster processing speed, and lower dementia risk. Now, let me address something about genetics and family history. Many patients tell me, diabetes runs in my family, so there's nothing I can do. This is only partially true. Yes, genetics play a role. If you have a parent or sibling with type 2 diabetes, your risk is higher. But genetics load the gun. Lifestyle pulls the trigger. Having a genetic predisposition doesn't mean you're destined for diabetes. It means you need to be more careful about your choices. And one of the most powerful choices you can make is eliminating liquid sugar. Research on identical twins shows that even with the same genes, lifestyle differences produce dramatically different health outcomes. The twin who maintains stable blood sugar through diet stays healthy. The twin who doesn't develops diabetes. Your genes don't control you, they inform your strategy. Let me give you an important insight about protein and its role in blood sugar management. Protein is the most stabilizing nutrient for glucose. When you eat protein, it slows stomach emptying, which means sugar from any meal enters your bloodstream more gradually. Protein also stimulates the release of hormones that help you feel full and satisfied. And unlike carbohydrates, protein doesn't spike blood sugar at all. This is why starting your day with protein is so effective. A breakfast of eggs and vegetables produces stable glucose for hours. A breakfast of juice and toast produces a spike and crash within 90 minutes. If you're serious about glucose stability, aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast. That's 3 eggs, or a cup of Greek yogurt with nuts, or a protein smoothie with real protein powder, not fruit juice. Here's something else to understand about exercise and glucose. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools for improving insulin sensitivity. When your muscles contract during activity, they pull glucose out of your bloodstream without needing much insulin. This effect lasts for hours after you finish exercising. Even a 15-minute walk after a meal can significantly blunt a glucose spike. This is especially important for seniors because you're fighting declining muscle mass and decreasing insulin sensitivity. Regular movement counters both. It doesn't have to be intense. Walking, swimming, gentle resistance training, these all work. The key is consistency. Moving daily is more important than occasional intense workouts. But here's the connection to beverages. If you're drinking juice or sweetened drinks, you're undermining your exercise efforts. Let's say you walk for 30 minutes. Great. Your muscles are primed to absorb glucose. Then you drink a sports drink thinking you need to rehydrate or refuel. That sports drink dumps 30 to 40 grams of sugar into your system. Your muscles can only absorb so much. The rest spikes your blood glucose, triggering an insulin surge, which then drives glucose into fat storage. You've just canceled out much of the benefit from your walk. Water is what you need after exercise, not liquid sugar. If you've done intense exercise for over an hour, maybe add a small amount of protein. But even then, you don't need sweetened drinks. Let me talk about sleep and its profound connection to glucose control. Poor sleep worsens insulin resistance. When you don't sleep well, your body releases stress hormones that raise blood sugar and make your cells less responsive to insulin. Studies show that just one night of poor sleep can reduce insulin sensitivity by up to 30%. This effect is even stronger in older adults. If you're chronically sleep deprived, managing blood sugar becomes much harder. Now, here's the beverage connection. Consuming sugar, especially in the evening, disrupts sleep quality. It can cause your blood sugar to spike and then drop during the night, which triggers stress hormone release that wakes you up. Many seniors who wake at 2 or 3 a.m., unable to fall back asleep, are experiencing nighttime glucose fluctuations. They don't realize their evening sweet tea or bedtime juice is part of the problem. Stop the evening sugar intake, stabilize your glucose, and sleep quality often improves within a week. Let's discuss inflammation and how liquid sugar drives it. Chronic inflammation is the root cause of most age-related diseases. Heart disease, arthritis, Alzheimer's, cancer, all have inflammation as a central driver. And high blood sugar fuels inflammation. When glucose is elevated, it triggers inflammatory pathways in your cells. It increases the production of inflammatory molecules called cytokines. Over time, this creates a state of chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates aging and disease. This is measurable. There's a blood test called C-reactive protein, or CRP, that measures inflammation levels. People who consume high amounts of sugar and sweetened beverages consistently show elevated CRP. When they cut out liquid sugar, CRP levels drop. Less inflammation means less joint pain, better cardiovascular health, lower cancer risk, and potentially slower cognitive decline. Here's something practical about reading labels and understanding what you're actually drinking. The beverage industry is brilliant at marketing. They use terms like natural, no artificial flavors, made with real fruit, lightly sweetened. These terms are designed to make you feel like you're making a healthy choice. But look at the nutrition label. Specifically, look at total sugars. If a drink has more than 5 grams of sugar per serving, it's too much. And pay attention to serving size. That bottle you're holding might say 15 grams per serving, but if the bottle contains 2.5 servings, you're actually getting 37 grams. That's more sugar than a can of soda. Don't be fooled by health halos. Read the actual numbers. Now, let me address a specific concern for seniors taking multiple medications. Many blood pressure medications, especially diuretics, can affect blood sugar. Some antidepressants can increase appetite and cravings for sweets. Statins for cholesterol can slightly raise blood sugar in some people. Corticosteroids, often prescribed for arthritis or autoimmune conditions, significantly raise blood sugar. If you're on any of these medications and you're also drinking sweetened beverages, you're fighting a two-front battle. Your medications are pushing glucose up, and your drinks are doing the same. This combination is why some seniors see their blood sugar creep up over time, even though they think they're eating the same diet they always have. The solution isn't necessarily changing medications. It's removing the dietary factors you can control, starting with liquid sugar. Let me explain something about kidney function and why glucose stability matters even more if you have any kidney issues. Your kidneys filter waste from your blood. They also help regulate blood sugar by filtering out excess glucose when levels get too high. But high blood sugar damages the tiny filtering units in your kidneys called nephrons. Over time, repeated glucose spikes cause scarring and loss of kidney function. This is how diabetic kidney disease develops. Even if you don't have diabetes, chronic glucose volatility stresses your kidneys. And here's the concerning part: kidney function naturally declines with age. By 70, most people have lost 30 to 40% of their kidney function compared to their 20s. If you're adding the stress of liquid sugar on top of natural age related decline, you're accelerating kidney damage. Protecting your kidneys is critical because once nephrons are destroyed, they don't regenerate. Prevention is everything. And eliminating liquid sugar is kidney protective. Here's an interesting point about gut health and blood sugar. Your gut contains trillions of bacteria that influence your metabolism. These bacteria help digest food, produce vitamins, and regulate inflammation. The composition of your gut bacteria affects how you process sugar. People with healthier, more diverse gut bacteria tend to have better glucose control. People with less diverse gut bacteria, often called dysbiosis, have worse glucose control and higher diabetes risk. What disrupts gut bacteria? Artificial sweeteners are one culprit, but also high sugar intake feeds the wrong types of bacteria. The bacteria that thrive on sugar produce inflammatory compounds that worsen insulin resistance. When you stop drinking sweetened beverages and artificial sweeteners, you give your gut bacteria a chance to rebalance. Over weeks to months, beneficial bacteria populations increase, which improves your metabolic health from the inside out. Let me give you some context about the historical shift in beverage consumption. 50 years ago, the average American drank about 20 gallons of soda per year. By 2000, that had increased to over 50 gallons per year. That's more than a can a day. At the same time, juice consumption increased. Bottled sweetened teas and coffees became ubiquitous. Energy drinks were invented. The beverage industry created an entire category of products designed to make you consume sugar constantly throughout the day. And it worked. Sugar consumption from beverages alone increased by over 130% from 1970 to 2000. During that same period, obesity rates tripled and diabetes rates quadrupled. This isn't coincidence, it's cause and effect. The good news is that since 2010, soda consumption has started declining as people become more aware, but it's been replaced partly by products marketed as healthy. Vitamin water, kombucha with added sugar, cold pressed juices. The marketing has changed, but the problem hasn't. Now, let me address coconut water specifically because many seniors have been told it's a healthy alternative. Coconut water does contain electrolytes like potassium, which is beneficial, and it has less sugar than juice or soda. But it still contains 6 to 12 grams of sugar per cup, depending on the brand. For most people doing normal daily activities, you don't need supplemental electrolytes. You get plenty from food. The marketing of coconut water for hydration is largely unnecessary. Plain water hydrates just as effectively for typical daily needs. The exception is if you're doing intense exercise and heat for over an hour, or if you're recovering from illness with vomiting or diarrhea. In those cases, electrolyte replacement makes sense. But for normal daily hydration, coconut water is just another source of unnecessary sugar. Save your money and drink water. Let's talk about the psychology of habit change because understanding this makes success much more likely. When you drink juice every morning for 30 years, it becomes automatic. You don't think about it, you just do it. This is your brain's habit loop. There's a cue, the morning wake up, there's a routine, pouring and drinking juice, and there's a reward, the sweet taste and energy boost. To change the habit, you can't just remove the routine. You need to replace it with a new routine that provides a different but satisfying reward. This is why simply deciding to stop drinking juice often fails. Instead, create a new morning routine. Cue, wake up. New routine. Drink a glass of water with lemon and eat a handful of berries. New reward, feeling of freshness and the sweet taste from whole fruit. The structure stays the same, but the behavior changes. This is how sustainable change happens. Here's something about social pressure and how to handle it gracefully. You're at a family gathering. Your host offers you fresh squeezed orange juice. Very proud of the effort they put in. Declining feels rude. Here's what you do. Accept the glass graciously. Take a small sip. Compliment the taste. Then set it down and don't finish it. You've been polite, you haven't made a scene, and you haven't consumed the full glucose load. Or have a response ready. Thank you so much, but I'm trying to cut back on sugar for my health. Most people respect that. And if someone pushes back, you don't owe them an explanation. A simple, my doctor suggested it, ends the conversation. Your health is more important than avoiding minor social discomfort. Let me share what happens at the cellular level when you consistently expose yourself to high glucose. Inside every cell, you have power plants called mitochondria. These produce energy. When glucose is stable, mitochondria function efficiently. But when glucose spikes repeatedly, it causes oxidative stress in the mitochondria. Think of it like revving a car engine too high for too long. You create damaging byproducts called free radicals. These damage cellular structures, including DNA. Over time, this accelerates cellular aging. Your mitochondria become less efficient. You produce less energy. You feel more fatigued. This is part of why people with poor glucose control feel tired all the time. Their cells literally can't produce energy efficiently anymore. Protecting mitochondrial function is key to maintaining energy and vitality as you age. Stable glucose is mitochondrial medicine. Now I want to discuss something about bone health that most people don't know. High blood sugar weakens bones. Multiple mechanisms are involved. First, high glucose increases inflammation, which activates bone breakdown cells called osteoclasts. Second, high glucose damages blood vessels that supply nutrients to bone. Third, high glucose causes advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, to form in bone collagen, making bones more brittle. Studies show that people with diabetes have higher fracture risk even when their bone density tests look normal. The bone quality is compromised. For seniors already at risk for osteoporosis, adding the stress of chronic glucose spikes worsens bone fragility. Maintaining stable blood sugar protects your skeletal system and reduces fall-related fracture risk. Let me explain why timing of fruit consumption matters even when eating it whole. Eating fruit on an empty stomach causes a faster glucose rise than eating it with a meal. This doesn't mean fruit is bad. It means strategy matters. If you want an apple as a snack, pair it with a handful of almonds or a piece of cheese. The protein and fat slow absorption. Or eat your fruit at the end of a meal when your stomach already has protein and fiber that will buffer the sugar absorption. This is especially important at breakfast. Don't start your day with fruit alone. Build your breakfast around protein and vegetables, then add fruit as a side. This simple sequencing change can cut your glucose spike in half. Here's what you need to know about the dawn phenomenon. Many seniors notice their fasting glucose is higher in the morning than it was before bed, even though they didn't eat anything overnight. This is called the dawn phenomenon. It happens because your body releases hormones in the early morning hours to prepare you to wake up. These hormones, especially cortisol and growth hormone, cause your liver to release stored glucose. For most people, the pancreas releases insulin to handle this and blood sugar stays normal. But if you have insulin resistance, your body can't compensate effectively, and morning glucose stays elevated. This is worsened by poor sleep and evening carbohydrate intake. If you stop drinking sweetened beverages in the evening and improve sleep quality, the dawn phenomenon often improves. Your body's natural rhythms function better when you're not stressing them with liquid sugar. Let me address what happens during sick days. When you're ill with a cold, flu, or any infection, your blood sugar runs higher than normal. This is because illness triggers stress hormones that raise glucose as part of the immune response. If you're also drinking juice because you think you need the vitamin C or because it's all you feel like consuming, you're adding fuel to the fire. High glucose during illness actually impairs immune function. Your white blood cells don't work as effectively when glucose is elevated. This can prolong illness and increase complication risk. When you're sick, focus on hydration with water or herbal tea. Eat whole foods when you can. Skip the juice. You'll recover faster with stable glucose supporting your immune system. Now, let me talk about vision and the direct link to blood sugar. High glucose damages the tiny blood vessels in your retina. This is called diabetic retinopathy, but you don't need full diabetes for glucose to affect your eyes. Chronic glucose volatility increases risk for macular degeneration, cataracts, and glaucoma. These are the leading causes of vision loss in seniors. Protecting your vision requires protecting your blood vessels, which requires stable glucose. Many patients tell me they wish they'd known this earlier. They assumed vision problems were just normal aging. Some of it is, but much of it is preventable. If you want to keep reading, driving, and staying independent, glucose control is essential. And removing liquid sugar is one of the most direct ways to protect your eyesight. Let me give you a practical strategy for eating out. Restaurants are challenging because they profit from selling drinks. You sit down, and immediately the server asks what you'd like to drink. They list sweetened options. The default is soda or iced tea, often sweetened. Here's what you do. Before they ask, proactively say, "Water with lemon, please." Make the choice before they offer alternatives. If you want something more interesting, ask if they have sparkling water. Many restaurants do now. Some charge for it, but it's worth the couple of dollars to avoid 40 grams of sugar. If you're somewhere that only has tap water and you find it unpalatable, bring a small bottle of flavor drops like lemon or lime extract. A few drops makes plain water more enjoyable without adding sugar. Here's something about grandparenting and modeling behavior. Your grandchildren watch what you do more than they listen to what you say. If they see you drinking soda or juice regularly, that becomes their normal. If they see you drinking water and eating whole fruit, that becomes their normal. You have an opportunity to shape their metabolic health for life. Children who grow up in households where water is the default beverage have dramatically lower obesity and diabetes risk as adults. You're not just changing your health, you're potentially changing the trajectory for the next generation. That's powerful motivation. Let me address a final piece about medical testing. If you've been drinking sweetened beverages for years and you want to know the impact, ask your doctor for a hemoglobin A1C test. This measures your average blood sugar over the past 3 months. It's more informative than a single fasting glucose reading. Also consider asking for a liver function panel to check for fatty liver. And if you're over 60, ask about a kidney function test measuring GFR and creatinine. These tests give you a metabolic baseline. Then, after 3 months of eliminating liquid sugar, retest. You'll likely see measurable improvement. Those numbers provide concrete feedback that what you're doing is working. It reinforces the behavior change. You are not a passive victim of aging. You have agency. You can make choices that protect your metabolism, your energy, your independence. It starts with understanding that liquid sugar is not your friend. It's fast, it's concentrated, it's metabolically stressful. Whole fruit is your friend, water is your friend. These choices support stable glucose, which supports everything else. In the next video, I'm going to explain why many seniors see perfectly normal fasting glucose, but still have dangerous post-meal spikes their doctor never tests for. That one insight changes everything. If you value calm, science based longevity guidance, consider subscribing. And if you want a structured plan for stabilizing blood sugar and protecting long term health, the longevity guide is linked below. I'll see you in the next one.